I figured this chapter was going to be a Black Bull centered chapter. It just made sense to me with the entrance of the Black Bull members in chapter 311 because, I mean, one thing about them entering that's different about, I mean, realistically, about a bunch of the other characters is Vanessa, Gordon, Gray, like what, Gauch and Henry. Like that's not the all-star team of the Black Bulls. Granted, they all have their value. All of them have a value. All of them have something that they can do. Like Gray, even though Gray, her plot point doesn't seem like, at least right now, it doesn't seem to really have gone anywhere other than it's like, hey, cool, your magic is better than what we thought it was. Doesn't seem, at least currently, to be a like plot important piece, but you know that could change very easily. As long as it doesn't do anything to kind of like do a big save, I'm fine with Gauch, because like Gauch dying to Dante wouldn't have really, I legitimately wouldn't have been really bothered by it, because like Gauch is probably my bottom member of the Black Bulls in my opinion. I like his magic, but it's like he hasn't really gotten like much for spotlight since like the cave arc. It's just not a lot of usage. That's one of the things about Gray too, but it's not like Gray got a plot piece in this arc, but it didn't really seem to go anywhere. Again, at least currently. Either way, like the difference between them and I guess Magna though is like one of those ones who always seems to kind of like surprise and just kind of like his level of strength. And as Yami said, he was the most gritty. Like he's just a gutsy dude, so I think he's able to accomplish more kind of crazy things, even though he's not as powerful as, you know, people like Noel, Asta, Luck, even Zora. I mean, Zora's not powerful, but his brain, his strategic abilities make him powerful. But them coming in, I was just like, there's no way that it's going to be them versus Morris in like a straight fight. Like, I just didn't think that was going to really hold up. But Morris, because Morris was already strong. He's got Lucifaro's magic. He just no-diffed Dorothy and Lotus, and he's what, in like 60%? He hasn't even started whipping out singularities. He's not at 100% yet. We don't know what he's capable of at 100% and what he's going to be able to do. Like, he's going to be absurdly more powerful and absurdly more capable. So that like set up to me in my head, it was going to be okay, we're going to let the Black Bulls have a turn, and then Morris is going to do a thing. Because clearly the highlight of this chapter was the Black Bulls pulling up. Like, that was the whole big focus. Morris didn't even have that much of spotlight, to be perfectly honest, in this chapter. I really hope Tabata gives Morris the level of attention and justice I think his character deserves. He's been pretty cool so far. He keeps pulling in clutch for the Spade Kingdom for the enemies every time it looks like they're about to lose footing because of the Dark Triad members losing. Morris pulls up again. Morris has been doing that since his introduction, and that's obviously one of the big benefits of Morris's broken magic, but also his intelligence. So I'm really hoping that Morris ends up being like a very admirable villain, like I want him to be a much more memorable villain than Zagrid. And I know some people are probably going to try and like drop comments about Zagrid power level wise, but it's like Zagrid is absolutely more memorable than the twins. And I can argue Magicula, because Magicula is really cool, but it's like Zagrid was an event that was a big story piece event, a big lore event. But like, that chapter pretty much means I really like the big weird hands that Morris has coming out of like his fingers, like the big weird meaty claw hands. They look spooky, but he's like trying to modify the Black Bull's base, putting his hands in. There's the comment in there when Vanessa is trying to use Rouge, and she's saying that Rouge's power isn't working, and Morris is saying that like because of his modification magic at this level can affect intangible concepts. And again, just because I gotta cover my ground, I still don't think the twins' statement from Noct holds any water. There was no concepts for them to destroy. It just seemed like he was capping. Like, Noct has been really bad about making combat calls in this arc. Great character, really cool design, really cool magic, but when it comes to like him making assessments about like fighting, he's been pretty bad about that. I mean, he's thinking that like they couldn't take the Dark Triad when it's like all it really took was like the members of the captains to kind of like surpass their limits, get a little bit stronger, and then just be able to defeat them based off either straight power ability counter or just being like a superior fighter. Like if Marileona was thrown up against Vonica, and I know Marileona's like a character that gets wanked up a lot in Black Clover, but she is factually really powerful, and I feel like if she went up against pre 100% Dark Triad members, that she would have clapped pretty easily. Same thing with like Yami if he fought Xenon or Vonica, or like Jack if he was in that situation. Dante was the hardest one because his immortality is mana based. It's not the same thing as say like the devils with their devil hearts. Even if you destroyed Dante's heart, if he had mana to come back, he would come back. He just regenerates. I don't think that you could destroy him unless you erase like how they defeat him. You know, they messed. You know, they were able to defeat him in a way that took out his mana. You messed with his grimoire, did something disconnection Lucifaro. Like you have to beat him in a mechanical standpoint to really do anything. But it's like a lot of the captains could have beaten the other two Triad members. Noct was definitely capping. But the reason that I was bringing this up is with their feat, when they are saying, you know, burning and freezing concepts, like destroying the spells, it's more understandable, even though it's, I still think it's cap, because the whole idea is it's like, okay, one is destroying the other, one is freezing the concept in his tracks. Again, big cap. But with Morris's magic is modifying it. He's just altering it. So it's like I want to know how his works more mechanically. I'd love to get like an actual explanation and like with a demonstration, because Rouge is out. We see Rouge in the chapter, but Rouge's ability is just not working. So he is affecting it at like the spell at a functional standpoint, not at a way that he's just like, I messed with your grimoire so you don't have the spell anymore or something like that. It seems more like he's messing with one of the traits of Rouge. Like, oh, Rouge can still do X, but Rouge can't do Y kind of thing. But they're just doing their thing. We have the flashback with Gray. Gray's talking to Owen. And, like, her whole thing just seems to, at least, again, currently, kind of resulted with her just having a different type of magic. It's kind of like just a better version of her transformation magic. It says fortification magic in the officials, and I am with a lot of people that the fact that doesn't really seem to make sense. Transmutation magic is like what a lot of people have been theorizing. It looked like that's how it's spelled out and laid out in the Japanese version, but for some reason the Viz gave fortification magic. I don't know. I mean her magic is cool. The way that it just seems to be is that it's just she's just a really good CC person. And granted, that's good. She factually is a really good CC character for her ability to alter elements and put them into other elements. Not even just elements, aspects of people's spells. She's essentially, I'm just thinking like Drac and Joe from Eden Zero. She is an alchemist in a way, and she can just alter things. Not like erase them, but she's changing their properties to something else to give them a lesser effect or to do something that is beneficial to the members of her team, which is, again, useful. Even though she's not a fighter, she's got value. But her plot point was just kind of like to me. Again, so far, we'll see. But Morris is doing his thing as well. He doesn't seem phased with these guys. I don't really think he was going to. And then Gauche is actually pretty good. Pretty alright chapter. I like whenever we see his cool mirror eye. He makes a bunch of Greys who just mess with Morris's magic on a large scale. And then Morris uses Presence the Demon King because the way that he's saying is it's like, oh, well, he's going to use a spell that doesn't have form, so she can't change it. Which, okay, I can get that. Because even though it's like something like fire or lightning, like they don't have physical, like they're physically not there, but they're like an energy. Whereas things like gravity, time, shadow, like they're more of, again, in that kind of not like a concept error, but like they can affect something without technically being there. And I think that's like kind of the difference when you really look at it from a fundamental standpoint. But the stuff with Gordon and Henry, I actually really liked. I did think it was funny that No Cursed kind of buffed Henry looks just like a Chad version of Rill. Like this looks like Rill's older brother that's like cooler, that shows up just to kind of one-up him in every instance. Kind of like what it was like. Kind of like what, not the same thing as obviously Marileona's girl, but like Marileona showing up and just having better feats than like Fuego all over the place when she first arrived. But Gordon's is pretty cool. I like Gordon's ability. I'm guessing with like the fact that the parts in his makeup, or I guess it's technically not makeup because like his parents have it, so I'm guessing it's genetic. The black parts around his mouth and eyes are like expanding upon his face. So I'm wondering if he's got a devil host, or it might just be the curse, but like maybe he's got like a devil power in there. I think it would make sense because we knew that his family already had stuff, you know, their hands in the pot with devils, like they were talking about Megicula and whatnot. But while this buffed version of Henry is cool looking, he's also able to hone his ability in a more kind of like combat useful scenario, because he's able to target who he's going to drain, which again is very useful. These guys aren't the A game of the Black Bulls. Like, this is legitimately the weakest probably bundle of them, the least capable, but like this is a good example of how they can still be useful, how they can still provide a level of value to the scenario and their environment, and not just be like a character who's there. And I do like that. I'm always a fan of when the weaker characters demonstrate their value. It doesn't have to just be power levels. They can still be helpful with you know, whatever it is they bring to the table. Like, even if somebody was like, think about like Mimosa or crap, what's the guy's name? Sand Dude. God, I can't remember his name. Alec Dora, I think. With him, like both of them, assuming that's who it is, they're two kind of mapping spells. Like, what is Mimosa's, the flower post or whatever, and then the other dude's, I might be thinking of a different guy, but you know who I'm talking about, the sand guy. He can make a replica of like the area he's in. Those by themselves, not even talking about like Mimosa's healing and stuff, those by themselves of being able to get like a tactical map of your like your environment and like try and get like an up on your enemies, that is useful in every scenario. That's like that by itself is like, bring that guy. He can literally have the one spell, and that one spell is good. But here Morris is doing his thing. He's getting his magic absorbed, and that's when like the Black Bull's base is just kind of like exuding mana and goes in and punches Morris and kind of knocks him down. Now Morris, the difference between Morris and say Dante is Dante's not a tank per se, but he's a high regen character, so the damage just doesn't really matter as much. Morris, obviously, like, he's gonna have a lot of modifications on his body, but based off of his magic, especially modification magic as his base, being a scientist and then getting gravity magic, he is not a, like, he definitely seems like a caster. He doesn't seem like a fighter. We'll see what happens when he actually starts doing more of his magic. Obviously mana skin is still something that is mana based, you know, but I mean, like, he's not a character that is physically built. So this hitting him and him not really taking that much damage, like, it looks like it just does surface levels of damage to him. He doesn't seem kind of like rattled mentally. He doesn't seem like he's having problems with his speech or having any, like, showing any, like, severe signs of damage. So he should be fine. I also imagine with modification magic, he should be able to mend his wounds, heal himself, and fix his body up. But then multiple other members of the Black Bulls are coming in. They're landing attacks on him, and you have all the different Black Bull members now arrived here to get Yami back. So there's no way. Here, let me just kind of say this, because like this chapter, there's not a ton to talk about this chapter. It's more of like how it sets up events, I think, is the bigger value of what's going on in chapter 312. So like, because the most part is just showing a little bit from the Black Bull side, just kind of giving the smaller characters a little bit of spotlight. That's how I figured it was going to be, and then ending with Black Bull members showing up, and now it's Black Bulls versus Morris. I don't see them beating Morris, because if they beat Morris, it's over. If they beat Morris, I don't really see what Tabata has planned to keep the Spade going. Then it would literally be they got one gate open, the Dark Triad lost on the first day when they were supposed to be holding out for 7 days, and the Spade would be, like, the Spade would be done. Especially because this would be, like, the final battle of this arc. Like, unless Tabata wants to make it, like, a long, grand battle and then end setting up some more stuff, that's one thing. But it's like, I don't want Morris to lose. Morris has, like, been one of the longest known villains in the series, and now we're finally getting him. He's got all this hype. He's got all these W's under his belt for what he's been doing for his side, and I just don't see him losing, because again, if he loses, it's done. Ritual's over. There's not even a second gate open. They defeat the Spade. They go home. I don't really see what would happen to really help them, because it's like none of the devils even really got out. I'm hoping that they get to at least a couple gates in, and at least one of the Supreme Devils will just say, "Yeah, I'm not staying here." Like this. Like imagine like you were the 4th gate devil. You come out. There's 3 gates prior to you, and then obviously the twins are 2. So there should be 4 devils there, 4 Supreme Devils, and they're not. There's none. And it'd be like, what happened to them? It's like, well, the enemy killed them all. I'd just be like, well, fuck this. Like, if they're killing people, then that might mean they're gonna get me. I'm getting out of here. I got plans. Like, I want one of the devils at least to escape, to kind of go do their own thing. Maybe like lean into like a different way to open it. Because if it's done in a way that Lucifaro doesn't get out, then, or at least if it ends in a way that doesn't end on like more Lucifaro kind of like up and coming, it has to be done in a way that Lucifaro or the other 2 big devils down there are still a threat, but there's still a possibility of them to come out. Like, my whole theory has been, like, well, what if a devil went and found some form of ancient archive, something that kind of, like, where knowledge only someone other than, like, Lola Petchka with the Heart Queen's wisdom would know. Like, somewhere where this information is actually hidden in the world. And it's like, oh, well, it's the information on whatever's trapping the devils down there, whatever's making those barriers so they can't go across. Who knows? Like, there's obviously, like, a lot of big questions, but we'll see. This chapter was about, again, where I thought it would be. I figured it was going to be way more focused on giving the Black Bulls a little bit of attention before getting into Morris. It's going to be really weird. I think the setup of the next couple chapters is really going to determine how a lot of things go. Because Asta we don't know how long until Asta has this Devil Union back up, but I wouldn't imagine it's that long. Like, the Black Bulls could logically fight and actually, like, kind of, like, run out the clock until it's going. Because even thinking about, like, however long it went during the Noel fight, we know there's at least a good chunk of minutes. Like, charging up Spirit of Euros was, what, 3 minutes? 3 minutes off of Asta's 30-minute timer, plus however much time he already had off, plus however much time he's had since Yuno's spell went off. So I imagine he's not that far from being refreshed. Now, that's going to be a big thing because Tabata obviously is at least so far shown that Devil Union Asta is extremely powerful. I mean, we've only really seen him fight enemies that were in the Ancient Demon's case fodder to him, or in the Twins case, they didn't take him seriously enough and they lost the Twins lost like early series enemies in Black Clover that didn't know what anti-magic was, so Asta just had the benefit of surprise. Like Nama, like Cloud. But if Tabata wants to bring up if Tabata really wants to build Morris, Devil Union Asta doesn't defeat Morris in that 5-minute time frame. Like, imagine Asta's 5-minute time frame runs out, they fail, at least at that point, another gate opens up. That would be super hype. We'll see. Again, question mark. I mean, if Asta does have Devil Union up and coming, if I was him, I definitely would save it in case the gate opens, and then they have to get rid of, if he had to fight Lucifaro. Because, I mean, like, logically speaking, if, like, a Lucifaro just popped out, Devil Union Asta is their best bet. But anyway, other than that, yeah, it's a good chapter. Nothing to kind of get crazy about. I liked Morris. I'm hyped to see how this next chapter goes, these next couple chapters goes, because I want to see what the Black Bulls have to do. I want to see what Morris brings to the table. And I really want to see exactly, like, if Tabata's going to leave any breadcrumbs and, like, how he might take this whole fight. Because now he's got, this is such a weird matchup. It's so much against Morris. But it's like, I don't feel like Morris can lose here from a writing standpoint. But again, we'll see. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend, like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. Been that, appreciate you, subscribe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.